In 2013, a 29-year-old programmer sat in a San Francisco library, logged into a hidden corner of the internet that most people didn't know existed, and watched his empire crumble in real time. The dark web promised absolute anonymity, a place where no government could reach you and no law could touch you. But what really happened when that promise was tested? The dark web isn't a single website or a secret club. It's a network of encrypted sites that can only be accessed through special software like Tor, originally designed by the U.S. Navy to protect intelligence communications. By the early 2010s, this technology had been adopted by journalists, activists, whistleblowers, and people living under oppressive regimes who needed to communicate safely. But it also became home to something else. In 2011, a marketplace called Silk Road launched on the dark web, operating like an eBay for illegal drugs, fake IDs, and hacking tools. The site used Bitcoin for payments and Tor for anonymity, creating what its founder believed was an untraceable criminal marketplace. What happened next would test whether the dark web could truly keep anyone safe from the law. The story begins with a username, Dread Pirate Roberts, borrowed from the movie The Princess Bride. In February 2011, someone using that name launched Silk Road from a laptop somewhere in the United States. The site's design was clean and professional, with user reviews, vendor ratings, and customer service that rivaled legitimate e-commerce platforms. Within months, it was processing thousands of transactions daily. By mid-2011, Silk Road had moved over $1.2 million in sales. The site's founder posted manifestos about economic freedom and the right to put whatever you want in your own body. He positioned himself as a libertarian revolutionary, not a drug dealer. Meanwhile, users from around the world were logging in, exchanging Bitcoin for everything from marijuana to methamphetamine, all delivered through regular postal services. The first serious investigation began in October 2011, when U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer held a press conference calling Silk Road the most brazen attempt to peddle drugs online that we have ever seen. The DEA, FBI, and IRS Criminal Investigation Division all opened cases. But they faced an unprecedented challenge. How do you catch someone who leaves no digital fingerprints? The breakthrough came from an unexpected place: simple human error. In January 2012, a user on a Shroomery forum asked a technical question about Tor. The post was made by someone named Altoid and included a throwaway email address. That same username, Altoid, had promoted Silk Road on multiple forums in its earliest days. When investigators traced that email address, it led to a Gmail account registered under the name Ross William Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht was a 27-year-old from Austin, Texas, with a master's degree in materials science and engineering from Penn State. Friends described him as idealistic, libertarian, and obsessed with Austrian economics. By early 2012, he had moved to San Francisco and was living a modest life despite allegedly running a marketplace generating millions in revenue. The investigation accelerated in July 2013 when Homeland Security agents in Chicago intercepted a package from Canada containing 9 fake IDs. All 9 IDs bore different names but the same photograph, Ross Ulbricht's face. When agents visited his San Francisco address, he claimed the IDs were for friends attending a music festival. They didn't arrest him that day, but they started watching. Meanwhile, the FBI's cyber team was conducting what they called a needle in a haystack investigation. They'd found the Silk Road server, hidden behind multiple layers of encryption, but needed to catch the administrator while he was logged in. Any delay would give Dread Pirate Roberts time to encrypt or destroy evidence. The operation came together on October 1, 2013, in the science fiction section of San Francisco's Glen Park Library. Ulbricht was working on his laptop when FBI agents approached from behind, distracting him with a staged argument between 2 undercover agents. In the 3 seconds it took him to look up, another agent grabbed his laptop before he could close it or lock the screen. The laptop was open to the Silk Road admin panel. Ulbricht was logged in as Dread Pirate Roberts. Chat logs, financial records, and server access credentials were all visible. Within hours, the FBI had seized Silk Road servers and taken the marketplace offline. They found records showing Silk Road had processed 9.5 million bitcoins in transactions, worth approximately $1.2 billion at the time. The case against Ulbricht rested on multiple layers of evidence, each verified through different investigative techniques. First, there was the digital trail connecting the username Altoid to Ross Ulbricht's email address, documented in archived forum posts from early 2011. Second, there were the fake IDs intercepted by Homeland Security, physically linking Ulbricht to border-crossing contraband. Third, and most damaging, was what investigators found on Ulbricht's seized laptop. The computer contained a personal journal detailing the creation and operation of Silk Road, written in first person. Entries described technical challenges, philosophical justifications, and financial milestones. One entry from January 2012 read, "Created my own advanced residential darknet market. Everything is becoming so real." The laptop also contained encrypted chat logs showing communications between Dread Pirate Roberts and Silk Road employees, vendors, and alleged criminal associates. Some logs appeared to show discussions about paying for information on law enforcement investigations. Other logs contained what prosecutors alleged were discussions about ordering violence against people threatening the marketplace, though no evidence emerged that any violence actually occurred. Financial evidence painted a picture of massive revenue generation. Silk Road took a commission on every sale, typically 8 to 15%. Blockchain analysis of Bitcoin wallets allegedly controlled by Ulbricht showed transfers totaling tens of millions of dollars. However, prosecutors noted that Ulbricht's actual lifestyle remained modest, suggesting most funds remained in Bitcoin or were reinvested in the site's infrastructure. Ulbricht's defense team challenged nearly every element of the government's case, raising questions that highlighted genuine ambiguities in digital evidence. They argued that the Dread Pirate Roberts identity might have been shared by multiple administrators, citing posts where the account claimed to have inherited the marketplace from its original creator. Some cybersecurity experts testified that securing a laptop in 3 seconds might not prevent all data alteration, though the FBI maintained strict chain-of-custody protocols. The most controversial aspect involved alleged murder-for-hire plots documented in chat logs. Defense attorneys noted that no victims were ever identified, no bodies found, and no separate charges filed related to these alleged crimes. Some forensic analysts suggested certain chat logs might have been fabricated by scammers targeting Dread Pirate Roberts, exploiting his paranoia for financial gain. The judge ultimately allowed this evidence as relevant to Ulbricht's state of mind and criminal intent, but no murder charges were ever brought. Questions also emerged about how the FBI initially located Silk Road servers, which were hosted in Iceland behind multiple layers of encryption. The FBI claimed they found a vulnerability in the site's login system, but some cybersecurity researchers argued the explanation was technically incomplete, suggesting the possibility of classified intelligence methods or international cooperation not fully disclosed in court documents. The Silk Road case touched thousands of lives in ways both visible and hidden. For users, the marketplace's closure meant sudden loss of access to substances many relied on daily, driving some back to street dealers and more dangerous supply chains. Several parents testified at sentencing about children lost to overdoses from drugs purchased on Silk Road, their grief turning courtrooms silent. Law enforcement officers involved in the investigation faced their own reckoning. 2 federal agents working the case, Carl Force and Sean Bridges, were later convicted of stealing Bitcoin during the investigation, betraying both their oath and their colleagues. Their corruption revealed that even investigators weren't immune to the temptation of anonymous digital currency. The betrayal shook confidence in the task force's integrity, though the core evidence against Ulbricht remained unchanged. For Ross Ulbricht's family, the aftermath was a different kind of devastation. His mother, Lynn Ulbricht, became an advocate for criminal justice reform, arguing that her son's double life plus 40-year sentence without parole was grossly disproportionate for a non-violent first offense. Whatever judgment one makes about his crimes, the human cost of decades in federal prison falls on a family watching their son age behind bars. To understand why Silk Road mattered beyond one man's prosecution, think of the internet as having 3 levels. The surface web is everything Google can find, like the visible part of an iceberg. The deep web contains password-protected content, your email, medical records, bank accounts, that search engines can't index. The dark web is something different. Deliberately hidden networks requiring special tools to access, designed for anonymity rather than just privacy. Silk Road proved two things simultaneously. First, it demonstrated that sophisticated criminal enterprises could operate in the open on the dark web, processing thousands of transactions daily for years. Second, it proved that digital anonymity isn't absolute. Every system has weak points. Human error, server misconfigurations, the gap between operational security in theory and practice. As one FBI agent testified, perfect anonymity requires perfect execution. Forever. We only needed one mistake. The case also revealed uncomfortable truths about drug prohibition in the digital age. Many Silk Road users weren't what most people imagine when they hear drug criminal. They were college students, professionals, and chronic pain patients who saw the marketplace as safer and more transparent than street dealing. The site's review system meant product purity was often higher and more reliable than street drugs. When law enforcement shut it down, many users simply migrated to successor sites. Silk Road 2.0, Ulbricht, Hansa, each learning from the last one's security failures. The legal precedents set by the case continue to shape how prosecutors approach dark web crimes. Courts established that using Tor to hide criminal activity is itself evidence of criminal intent, that Bitcoin transactions are traceable despite claims of anonymity, and that running a marketplace can make you legally responsible for crimes committed by users of that marketplace. These principles now guide hundreds of dark web investigations worldwide. So here's what we know for certain. Ross Ulbricht created and operated Silk Road for roughly 2.5 years, during which the site facilitated over $1 billion in illegal transactions. Law enforcement caught him through a combination of traditional detective work and digital forensics, exploiting small mistakes in his operational security. What we don't know is harder to quantify: how many administrators actually used the Dread Pirate Roberts account, what happened to most of the Bitcoin fortune allegedly accumulated, and whether the marketplace's closure made drug markets safer or just pushed them deeper underground. The Silk Road story was supposed to end with Ulbricht's conviction on February 4, 2015, when a jury found him guilty on all 7 counts, including continuing criminal enterprise and money laundering. But the story of the dark web was only beginning. In the near term, dark web marketplaces will continue evolving with more sophisticated security measures, learning from each predecessor's failures. Current markets use multi-signature Bitcoin wallets, decentralized hosting, and deadman switches designed to protect both operators and users from law enforcement. The technology arms race between criminals and investigators shows no signs of slowing. For Ross Ulbricht personally, the path forward depends on factors outside his control. His sentence of life in prison without parole remains active, survived multiple appeals, and stands as the harshest penalty ever given for a nonviolent dark web crime. Some advocates continue pushing for clemency or sentence reduction, arguing the punishment doesn't fit the crime, but presidential pardons for such high-profile cybercrimes remain rare. The broader policy question remains unresolved. Can law enforcement shut down illegal dark web markets faster than new ones emerge? History suggests no. Every major marketplace closure, Silk Road, Ulbricht, Hansa, has been followed by new markets within weeks. The technology enabling dark web markets is the same technology protecting journalists and dissidents worldwide, making it unlikely governments can eliminate the infrastructure without enormous collateral damage to legitimate privacy tools. The dark web didn't die with Silk Road, and the questions it raises about privacy, freedom, and crime in the digital age have only grown more complex. The story of what really happened there is still being written by investigators, criminals, activists, and ordinary people trying to protect their privacy in an increasingly surveilled world. If you want to understand how modern investigators actually catch dark web criminals using techniques Ross Ulbricht never saw coming, watch How the FBI Actually Tracks Bitcoin, the technology they don't want you to know. These methods have evolved dramatically since 2013, and what law enforcement can do now would have seemed like science fiction a decade ago. This documentary draws from federal court records, FBI investigative reports, trial testimony, and contemporaneous news coverage from outlets including Wired, Forbes, and Ars Technica. All claims marked alleged reflect charges not proven at trial or matters still disputed. Some dark web marketplace operations and technologies continue evolving after this script's research period. 4 court documents. SearchPacer using case number 14 CR 68 SDNY. This video is for educational purposes and does not constitute legal advice or encouragement to access dark web marketplaces, which may violate federal and international law. To understand the continuity of online black markets, consider how Silk Road inspired its digital descendants. Each new site, from Alphabet to Hansa, rose on the promise of tighter security and deeper anonymity, yet each fell to the same mix of technical flaws and human mistakes. Courtroom silence filled the air as the judge read out Ross Ulbricht's sentence. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. Cameras flashed. His family wept quietly in the gallery. The final verdict became both an end and a beginning, closing one chapter of digital rebellion while igniting debates about justice, surveillance, and freedom online. Blockchain analysis, once obscure, became central to law enforcement strategy. Investigators traced cryptocurrency transactions through intricate digital webs, proving that transparency and permanence in blockchain technology could be both a sword and a shield. From Silk Road to Alphabet to Hansa, the pattern became a timeline of rise and fall. Every takedown birthed a new marketplace, each smarter, leaner, and harder to track. Governments adapted, too, developing cross-border cyber task forces and legal precedents for seizing digital assets. Yet even with advanced tracing tools, the digital frontier remains fogged with uncertainty. Beneath encrypted tunnels and hidden forums, new markets and ideologies continue to grow. Some criminal, others political, all part of the same complex web of human intent and technology. The dark web is not a place, it's a mirror. What we see reflected there depends on who's looking. A criminal marketplace, a refuge for free speech, or the inevitable next stage of a connected world grappling with privacy and power. As the sun rises over the digital horizon, the story of Silk Road reminds us that even in anonymity, our actions always leave a trace.